Hello, Power Achievers. I am Pat Council, and I want to talk about what you can learn from complaining. There seems to be a lot of complaining going on these days. It doesn't matter where I look, and I'm not trying to run away from it. It's just easy to find. And even though I'm not looking for it, as I said, it's just everywhere. You can find it on social media, different social media platforms. You can find it even in commercials on television. You can find it, of course, in the news on the internet that pops up, or the captions that pop up. So with that being said, sometimes when there's a lot of complaining going on, even though it works counterproductive to you getting the outcome that you want for your life, getting the things that you want in your life, the exciting things that you want to happen in your life. It actually makes goal achievement a lot harder, and if you achieve it all. So what I want to share with you, I want to kind of go to the opposite way of thinking for a moment. And I want to talk about what you can learn from complaining. So if you're one of the people that I'm talking about in terms of complaining and finding something wrong with things that you see on television, just things that you really, I want to say don't know anything about. In other words, you got it secondhand or thirdhand information. So there is something that you can learn when you look at things or listen to what you're complaining about. Now, the first thing, and I want to jump right into this, one of the first things that you can learn from complaining is that you can find your purpose in life, or at least go towards it, or get some glimpse into not necessarily your purpose for your entire life. It could be what you're put on this earth to do. If you're struggling trying to figure it out, listen to what you're complaining about. A lot of times when you're complaining about something, most of the time we're complaining. Sometimes people complain just to be complaining, but most of the times we're complaining about how things should be, or how we'd like to see them play out. And sometimes we even go so far as to say, if it were me, I would. Or why don't they just, and of course you fill in the blank. So if that's you, maybe you're the person who you're supposed to bring us the answer. You're supposed to kind of get in that, I guess, the ring of life, like a boxing ring kind of thingy. So you're supposed to get into the ring and, bring your power. Okay. And, and start to do something about it. If you can see answers where a lot of people are having challenges and they're suffering from something, or they are not getting to where it is they truly desire to be, but you can see the way clear, then perhaps that's part of your purpose. You're supposed to share some insight. Or there's something maybe that you could do and you're supposed to do because you, deep down inside, you feel passionate about doing this. So the thing is, what is stopping you? Usually it's fear, or we talk ourselves out of it, or we share something with someone else and they talk us out of it. And I've had that happen a few times. However, as you know, I've gotten, I want to say older, but it's not just a function of getting older. Let's just say more clarity, because I mean, you can be 12 years old and someone can say, no, that's not a good idea. But if you are clear and you're kind of headstrong, you probably went forward with it. The point that I'm getting to here is that that's not a function of age. It's a function of perhaps allowing the fear to override what you know to be true. And there was a time when I would listen to the rest of the class. Okay. And then let's just say, as I grew up or grew older, because I was already an adult, but as I grew older, I started to say, you know what? I'm going to listen to my, let's say, divine promptings, the divine calling, the way that I'm being led, the direction that I'm being led to go. And that's what I'm going to listen to. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I've shared this, I believe I may have shared this on this podcast before, but just to give you a really quick example of that, I when I got into real estate, and I called my aunt, one of my aunts, to tell her, and she and my other aunt, her sister, they were there together, and I was so excited about it, and I knew I could make it work. But what they did is, I thought they would be just as excited, but they were not. So they proceeded to tell me why this was not the best idea. And I thought, wow, okay, didn't see that one coming. I thought they were going to cheer me on, because a lot of times they would say that they were proud of me for doing certain things. And it just, in this case, they had never been in business. Okay. So they knew nothing about being in business. And if I'd taken their advice from someone who has not been there, done that, or from someone who could not actually clearly give me, let's say, the kind of wisdom and insight that I needed so I could move forward. If I had listened to them, as opposed to that, then I would have never gotten into real estate, and I would have never traveled down a certain path in my life. So the point that I'm making is, when you're complaining, listen to what you're saying. Okay. And you can find your purpose in life, or find the cause that you want to be a part of, or perhaps that you're supposed to be a part of. Of course, I have this theory, and you guys have heard me say this more than once. I believe that when people each step into their purpose, if we all did what we were put here on this earth to do, there wouldn't be as much chaos. And plus, there'd be a lot more happy people. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, what you can learn from complaining is you'll discover the areas that need your attention. For example, if you say something, whether you say it in your head or whether you say it out loud, you go, wow, I really need to lose weight. Now, that's kind of a mild complaint. But the mere fact that you're saying it either out loud or saying it to yourself, it's not exactly something that you're saying in a positive light. When you say, I need to do something. Okay. Now it's more, I think, more proactive and more positive when you say, you know what? I'm going to get on my fitness kick, get back on my fitness kick, and become physically fit. I'm going to become physically fit. So I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to become healthy, that kind of thing. But we say, oh man, I need to lose weight. Yeah, that's kind of a complaint. But here's the good part about that. While it might be kind of a complaint, the truth is, if you listen to that, what you're doing is actually verbalizing something that you really feel you need to do, something you think that if you do this, it's going to make you feel better, or it's going to add some kind of value to your life. And of course, one of those values will be a longer life, longevity. However, you're telling yourself in a kind of, let's say, complaining way what needs to happen. Now, the drawback to that is you're putting out a kind of energy that doesn't exactly make you feel good. So as I said a few moments ago, you want to speak life into something that you know you must work on, or something that you must improve on. Okay. So, and here's number three. This is a final one. So we're moving kind of fast on this podcast today because I guess I want to make sure I'm not complaining too much. So let's move on. Of course, I'm not complaining, right? But back before I move to number three, I have to confess that I wish I could lose weight thing, or I should lose weight, or I need to lose weight. That was something that I said in my own head once I realized, oh my goodness, you know what? And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. I've shared, what led me to get back onto my fitness kick. And so you guys, if you haven't heard that story, it's on several of the previous podcasts, somewhere in last week's podcast, the weeks before that, and before that. But the point that I'm making is that got my attention. And then I immediately changed it around, how I spoke about becoming more fit. Okay. Instead of delivering it in a way that made me feel, I want to say defeatist. I don't really feel defeatist most of the time. Okay, but let's go with that. Instead, I turned it around because I wanted to come from that position of power, that position of empowerment. So, okay, so let's move on. Number three, one of the things that you can learn from complaining, or another thing, is that you need to examine your life or get a life coach to help you out with that, so that you can discover why you are giving away your power. Usually when people complain, they need help from someone somewhere, or they feel helpless, or they feel like they need someone to come in and just kind of save them, if you will. And what we call it, of course, victim mode. Now, that's not to make light of it or make fun of it. That's just what it's called, playing the victim a lot of times. But here's the thing about a victim. When a person is playing or have gone into victim mode, there's something in there that they need to put their attention on. And so they start complaining about it. And so on some level, there's something in there that's telling them, you know what? You can do better, or you deserve better, or someone is somehow, I want to say, violating whatever your boundaries are, or disrespecting you in some way. And so when that happens, then a lot of times we complain. Think about it. Whenever you've gone to a store or somewhere, and let's say you're dealing with customer service, and that person is rude to you. A lot of times what happens is people complain about that. So and they usually complain to several of their friends and to anybody who will listen. Why? Because on some level they're hurt, because they feel like they should have been treated better. They feel like they deserved better. But at the same time, because that person is customer service, and they walk away feeling like they didn't get good customer service, or that they weren't treated with the respect that they were entitled to. So when you're complaining, there's a lot you can learn about the complaints that come out of your mouth. Okay. Now I'll give you a bonus one, and this one might be a little bit tough, but hey, it is what it is. Sometimes people complain because, well, they've been complaining for so long until they don't know how to do anything else. They're so unhappy with their lives, which means that they need to take a look at their self-esteem, their confidence, and go back to number one. And they need to take a look at their purpose. Why are they here? Because listen, there are things that are going to happen in life that are not pleasant sometimes. We're all going to go through some kind of tribulation of some kind, where we have to kind of rise to the challenge. We go through those tribulations. Those tribulations are designed to make us stronger. So sometimes we have to be a little bit stronger. We have to kind of dig deeper, and because things are going to happen. And one of the things that I would say, among the many things I've learned, but one of the main things that I've learned is that it doesn't matter how many people you complain to. Sometimes at the end of the day, the only person who can fix the issue or overcome that challenge is you. You have what it takes. And this is the beautiful part about learning from your complaining, listening to what you're saying, and then drawing a conclusion as to the outcome that you desire. If we are complaining, sometimes it's because we're afraid. And here's the thing about that. And you know what? Before I decided to do this podcast today, I was looking it up, and I said, you know what? Of course, does the Bible say about us going through things? And so it does say that we're going to have some tribulation. And that's John 16:33, 16 chapter 33 verse, if you want to go look it up yourself. And so basically, in that verse, it tells us that in the world ye shall have tribulations. But it says, be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now, this is Jesus saying he's overcome the world. And what he's also saying is, listen, if I did it, so can you. And if you say, oh, no, we can't be like Jesus, well, read the book. He says that we'll do greater things than he did. So the point is, you have the power. And you say, well, if that's the case, why am I not overcoming these things? Because number one, and see, I can speak from experience on this. Number one, because we think that telling 5 girlfriends or 5 people what our problems are, that it's going to get fixed. We're going to get, and that's not going to fix it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should keep everything to yourself. One of the things that I have kind of learned is that if I do share, I might pick a person that I really trust, and I will share it with that person. But I'm asking their opinion as opposed to just looking for somebody ear to bend, where I'm just, hey, listen to my whining, listen to my complaining, because it's just going to make me feel better. And I can take my negative energy and I can put it on you. Okay, I can transfer it to you. And that doesn't do any good. It doesn't solve the issue. As a matter of fact, it causes the issue to remain and to become worse. So the point that I'm making is whatever, and this is kind of a big bonus that I'm giving you guys, whatever you're complaining about, you want to really sit and think about, why am I complaining about this? Sometimes we complain in our own heads. We don't even complain to other people. And that's another thing. You want to listen. What am I complaining about? Okay. Now, this is something that I had to work on for a while once I figured out what I was doing, I said, aha, stop it. So the point that I'm making here is pay attention to what you're complaining about. You can learn a lot about what you're complaining about. You see, the opposite of complaining, because complaining is actually a negative kind of energy. And, but everything, has its opposite, light, dark, black, white, so that kind of thing. Sun goes up, sun comes up, sun goes down, so not literally down, but you guys know what it means. It's now in another part of the world, but you understand what I'm saying. It's the kind of, light, dark thing. So happy, sad, those kind of things. So everything has its opposite. So if you think about complaining, this is why you can learn something from complaining. If you think about why you're complaining and get an understanding of why you're complaining, you're going to find that on the opposite side of that, there's a lot of positivity. Sometimes you're complaining, as I said earlier, it's designed to push you to a higher level. It's designed to get you to face that, wait a minute, you are not as weak as you're leading yourself to be. Because if you were, helpless, hopeless people, they just take it. They just put up with it. Okay. They don't like it, but they put up with it. But people who complain, on some level, they know that there's something more in them, something stronger, something that's going to take them to another level, the level that they're supposed to be on, the level that allows you to serve your divine purpose, puts you on that divine path. Okay. So no matter what you're going through, when it comes to the goals that you set, and the direction that you want to go in your life, make a decision. Okay. Call on your strength, spend that time with you. Okay. Even I still go back to back to journaling. So even journal. Okay. Take the time and write some things down and be honest. So, and I've shared this on another podcast about journaling. Some people just journal the negative. That's not going to make you stronger. Granted, you can put your feelings out there, but don't end on that note. Look at what you've written and write some solutions. Write the opposite. Write what would make you feel better. So look at the complaining and see what you can learn from it. Listen, you guys, that's all I have for you on this magnificent Monday. So in the meantime, do life with power, because you are built by design to win.